The name University of Ghana was a big deal. Right from teacher training college, I was posted as a teacher, in a village. And then after my posting, I worked a little bit, and then I applied to the University of Ghana and KNUST, and I got admission. I got admission here, and I got admission at Tech. But because the University of Ghana was closer to Koforidua, I chose University of Ghana. My admission letter came. Commonwealth was stated there. At the gate, I showed the security men that I was going to Commonwealth, and they pointed their hands this way. So when I got to the roundabout, I asked again, and they said, on the way to Baum Library. Yeah. When I asked, they said this again. I could hear some jama, some charging, and I didn't know where it was coming from. But when I got to Volta roundabout, I saw where the music was coming from. But when I got closer and I got to the entrance to the majestic city on this campus, when you get to the entrance of Commonwealth, it's like the entrance to heaven. It's the most beautiful entrance you can ever see. The staircase to the Bacchus garden, fountains flowing here and there, greenery. I mean, it was a beautiful scene. So this is our Vandal Ernest. That's where the name Vandal Ernest came. And so the chief vandals at the time, would not allow boys to be lazy around and sleep during exam time. We do get, broken heart situations on campus. Some students will come to your office crying, my boyfriend has done this, my girlfriend has done this. So you can find people that are brilliant, people that in class, are very active, they give brilliant answers, and when you put them in the examination room, they become disoriented.
Welcome to 30 Minutes with your lecture once again. Today, we are at the Department of Psychology, and we are interviewing a lecturer who is so much liked by students. I mean, he has been named several times as the favorite and the best lecturer in the University of Ghana. Interestingly, he was in the Commonwealth Hall, so he's a Vandal, and also he's a Manchester United fan. So the conversation is going to be very much interesting. Join me to welcome Dr. Ernest Darkwah, Vandal Ernesto to Voice of Legon. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
So we want to find out, most of the times we come to the university, we see you in the lecture halls, and it's the academic side, the official side that we see a lot of times. But today we want to explore more about you. We want to know how it started, your personality aside the classroom. So can you tell us a bit about how it all started for you?
Okay, thank you very much. Where do I start from? I'm a Kofutan boy. I'm from Koforidua.
Okay.
Up to now, I still live in Koforidua. But if you come to Koforidua, there's a small town called Akwadum.
Akwadum.
That's where I'm from, actually. Okay. So my family house is at Akwadum. That's where I grew up. When I was a child, my father was a government worker, so we were roaming around a little bit, transfers and here and there.
Okay.
So I've lived in Konongo in the Ashanti region before we came to live in Mankranso, also in Ashanti region, before we relocated to Koforidua. So I actually completed my junior high school at Akwadum LAJSS.
In Koforidua, where you started?
Yes. So for my primary school, because we were moving so much, I can't mention a single primary school as my primary school, but my junior, I became stable.
Oh, but you finished junior high school in Akwadum?
In Akwadum, yes.
In Koforidua?
Yes.
Okay. So how were you moving in primary school?
During my primary school days, my father was a government worker. So they were transferring him around almost all the regions. So we would move here, I'll change school, we'll move here, I'll change school. So the last movement we made was back to Koforidua.
Back to Koforidua. Oh, okay. Where you finished junior high school?
I finished JSS. Oh, okay. So I finished JSS in Akwadum. Interestingly, I finished as a boys prefect in the school. So I still have some of my mates.
Was it a government school?
It was yes. Government school, local school, like Oguntini Katenkwan school.
Just like I attended.
Saito, it was a Saito school, but
okay, great.
So that's where I went to school, and that's where I finished my junior high school. And then after JHS, I attended New Government Senior High School.
in just school.
in Glasgow, yeah, in Koforidua.
Okay.
You know, I studied general arts over there before I finished SHS. And then when I was done with SHS too, the because of difficulties at home, I was not able to continue straight ahead. So I had to do here and there hustling. I taught so that's where the teaching actually started. So after SHS, there's nothing much to do. There's nobody to take you anywhere. So you start finding employment in village private schools. They have all these private schools in villages. So I started at teaching kindergarten students, children.
Okay.
At a school called Kuntunchi.
Kuntunchi.
It was in Akadum.
Okay.
At the time. So that's where it started for me.
The
So
teaching
life for
passion.
me has been teaching from after SHS till now.
Okay. Let's talk about the time that you had to pause for some time in SHS2. So that means it didn't take you the normal 3 years that we know to finish senior high school.
No, I didn't pause at SHS2.
When you finished, then
When I
you
finished
paused.
SHS, then
Then you
life
paused.
seemed to have ended, or education, school seemed to have ended there. So I had to.
What really happened at that point?
At that point, my father had lost his job, and there was not much to take you on, or for you to further your education. So I actually did not have any hope of going on again. So you just fall back, just like any normal Ghanaian child. You finish SHS, there's no one at home to help you go any further in education.
Mm-hmm.
So you're left on your own to find this. So I'll follow my friends. We'll go and pluck oranges and sell to traders.
Interesting.
I also grew up, during my junior high school days in Akadum. We were basket weavers. The town at that time, it was a village. The village was a farming village. So all the young people will follow our parents to the farm.
To the farm.
Those things. So I learned how to make baskets.
Okay.
And so we were basket weavers. I learned to make baskets. We were selling baskets. So after SHS and there was nothing to do, I went back. The only trade that I knew, making baskets. We use palm fronds to make baskets to sell to market women who use it in their market trading activity. I struggled a little. I mean, not a little. I struggled a lot in the mix of boys that were hustling in the village on the farms, because I wasn't a tall person. I wasn't a big individual, and some of these things, they are physically laborious. So you have to climb,
have a lot of energy,
palm tree and cut it. And so there was a time that myself and my friend, this was in SHS2 actually.
SHS.
I had been sacked from school. We were going to write mock in school, and there was no money to pay my mock registration fee. So I did the only thing that I need to do. I was sacked from school, so I came back to the village. We went to the farm to cut palm fronds to make baskets. But I'm not a tall person, and my friend I was with, was also not a tall person. So and the palm tree was tall. So what we did was that he carried me on his shoulders, and I had the machete. So one hack at the palm front, and I think it was too much force behind it. So it went clear through the palm front and ended up here. So if you can see.
Yeah, I can see the mark.
The mark.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a lot of marks, trying to hustle and make some. But I managed to get the money and go back and
to write the mock. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
In senior high school, how would your teachers describe you? Were you a cool person, or you were one of the?
I wasn't a hardcore kid, but I also wasn't exactly the cool kid. So I wasn't among the weed smokers.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't among the bullies. But I was part of the boys who were everywhere. So I like to sing a lot. So I was part of the Jama squad. In school, during sports competitions, I was in the Jama. And they used to call me Atom. So, people like us don't stay around places. Just around every corner we are just. So I don't know if they would describe me as a troublesome kid. I don't know. I still can remember some of my teachers, because the first person who ever bought me a birthday gift was my science teacher in SHS2.
Okay.
Her name was Mrs. Sasu.
Oh, a lady.
Yes, she was the first person in my life to ever buy me a birthday gift. So I can't forget.
What age was that?
I think I was 15, 16. Oh, no, but well, between 14, 16 thereabouts, and it was a nice feeling to get a gift. She bought me a small cake, but I think her husband had the same birthday as me, or she had the same birthday. I can't remember properly, but she was the first person who bought me a birthday.
But I guess now you are used to it. You get it every time.
Yeah, students will.
Life is good.
And friends, people, people will remember. Even if you don't remember your birthday, you remember.
Yeah. God has been gracious. So, senior high school again. What is one memory, or what is one thing that happened in your senior high school days that you still remember till now?
One thing. Which one would I say?
If there are lots to you
our
can share all of them.
headmaster was a very strict person. He was a pastor.
Okay.
His name was Reverend Boniface Ajay. And he was very strict on students, coming to school neatly dressed, those kind of things. And so, people who run to town, especially the boarders who run to town, and people who would come to school late. He wasn't too lenient on that. So when it was after assembly, he would drive his car on the road leading to the school, and any student he finds late, he will put you in his car, and they call that presidential ride. And once you get the presidential ride, your bottom has scratched, right? So so there was a time that I was coming to school. I was a day student, and so I walked from Betum all the way to Ugasco, which is quite a distance. And I had a friend called Kofi Jin. We lived in Betum together, and Kofi Jin, G, letter G.
Okay.
And we didn't have money. Our parents did not give us money. That was a Monday, but my mother had given me banku, banku to come to school and eat, and the banku had nothing with it. It was just raw banku.
Okay.
And Kofi G, I think his father was a fire officer and had given him some small coins. And there used to be a gobe seller on the way to the school. So when we're coming, we had a plan, me and him. So he used his money to buy beans.
Okay. To complement your banku.
To complement my banku. So we had to sit and eat. And we were enjoying it and forgot the time.
Okay.
So just when we got out of the bean seller's place, we saw
the headmaster.
Headmaster's car. And he gave us
a presidential ride
to the campus. And the punishment was huge.
What happened to you?
Well, those days they would let you weed, a big portion of the school field. And then, they will let you kneel down and those kind of things. But so, I mean, in those days, it was a big deal. Everybody heard that myself and Jane had gotten presidential right. And then the one that I also remember a lot was my maths teacher made me kneel down in front of the class for so long that when he asked me to get up, I couldn't stand up. My knees were locked. So my friends had to come lift me up and I couldn't put my feet down. It was a very traumatic experience.
Look, it seems you had an interesting senior high school education.
Yeah.
But being a Vandal, I know university would be more interesting than SHS. So let's talk about your life as an undergrad student in Commonwealth. How did you end up in Commonwealth Hall?
Well, before I came to university, I had never heard anything called Commonwealth Hall. And because of where I come from, the name University of Ghana was a big deal. If you hear somebody is in Legon, those days in my place, it was a big deal, right? So I actually did not see myself attending University of Ghana until I went to teacher training college. So before, after SHS, life became, a hassle. I'm home until I picked up a job at a basic school, a private, basic school, and I taught kindergarten. But then I was brought to Accra. Family circumstances brought me to Accra to come and live with family in Accra, and the person that brought me to Accra to come and live with him, we all call him Brian. He was my big brother. He just passed 2 weeks ago. Oh yes, and he made a very big impact in my life. So he was the one who started putting this university idea in my head, and I think that when I lived with him and his children, I don't know what he saw, but he used to tell me that I should put it in my head that I will go to university, whatever I can do to get there. So it was he who started putting the university idea in my head, and told me not to give up on myself. Then I moved from his place to live with an auntie at a place close to Kolebu. There's a place where Pastor Mensa Otabil's church, Christ Temple, is. There's a small neighborhood there called Ibe Town. On the Kolebu circle to Kolebu stretch.
Okay.
So I lived there with one of my cousins. His name is Mr. Kwesi Anoche. And then in our auntie's space. And around that time, I was a little lost, I would say. I found myself in a dark place because there was no progress. So I started doing these menial jobs, in Accra, until one day my cousin, Kwesi, told me that, we are here and Sunday we don't go anywhere. So this Sunday, the church is right across the road. Christ Temple was right across the road. So we should go
to
there
the church
and just visit. So we went. And on that day, Pastor Mensa Otabil was teaching. In a sermon. He said that if you are a young person and you can't find your way in life, the best thing to do would be for you to choose something you want to do and start asking how you can get there. Right. So when we closed from the service and I was coming home, just this thought occurred to me. You can even be a teacher. You started already teaching. You started. So I wrote it down. I wrote teacher down, and I started asking how I could go to, how I could become a teacher. And one of my other cousins, he had gone to teacher training college and told me that, if you become a people teacher, they won't pay you anything. So if you want to be a teacher, then you have to be a trained teacher. So I started asking around how I can go to teacher training college. And long story short, I found my way and I applied to Mount Mary Training College in Somanya, and I got admitted. So I went to teacher training college.
For how many years?
The training college was 3 years. At that time, I had been home after SHS for about 3 years.
Okay.
Then I went to teacher training college. It was at training college that I met some amazing friends at the school who made me realize that you are really a teacher. Because then I had a friend, he's now a NAT executive. His name is Mr. Samuel.
The National Association of Teachers.
Ghana National Association of Teachers, yes. His name is Mr. Samuel Osedenchira. I met Obed Frempo Yamwa. We all call him Rasgege. I met Miss Marianne Deitutu. We all call him Hola. I met Mr. Chum Francis. These people were my classmates. And the feedback I got from them when we did group studies, and when there was a time that we were doing demonstration teaching, and Osedenchira, we call him Ally. He just drew closer to me and said, "Hey, we are the power," and those kind of little bits of feedback told me that no, this is what I have, this is what I can do best. So training college was a bit of a different experience from SHS, because in SHS I struggled with mathematics and those kinds of things, but in training college, I found my foot. So I started building up from there. So right from teacher training college, I was posted as a teacher, in a village. And then after my posting, I worked a little bit, and then I applied to the University of Ghana and KNUST, and I got admission.
To University of Ghana.
To University of Ghana. I got admission here, and I got admission at Tech. But because University of Ghana was closer to Koforidua, I chose University of Ghana. When I came, Legon gave me English, psychology, sociology, and classical history and civilization. You know, and those days when they give you admission, on your admission letter, they state your hall of residence. So when my admission letter came, Commonwealth was stated there. You know, then I came to school. On the first day, I had never been to Legon campus before, so the vehicle dropped us at the gate, the main gate. Myself and my big brother, you know, and we were coming to school.
Was he also coming to school here? Or he was coming to school?
No, they had never. Nobody in my family had come to Legon before, so and I was like their little brother coming to school. So they brought me to school.
Everyone has to,
you know. So my big brother is late now. He's called Richard. He brought me to school, and then at the gate, I showed the security men that I'm going to come over for, and they pointed their hands this way. And I didn't know how far it was, and I had my luggage, so I was dragging the luggage. I was dragging one. My brother was
the main
dragging
entrance
one.
to.
So when I got to the roundabout, I asked again, and they said, so I dragged again all the way to Baum Library. When I asked, they said this again.
Keep going.
Yeah, but
I could hear hall before.
I could hear some Jama, you know, some charging, and I didn't know where it was coming from. But when I got to Volta roundabout, I saw where the music was coming from.
And you realized you had come home because from the Jama group in the senior high school. Initially,
it was, you know, when I was hearing the words, the music, I couldn't hear the words. But when I got closer and I got to the entrance to the majestic city on this campus, you know, when you get to the entrance of Commonwealth, it's like the entrance to heaven. You know, it's the most beautiful entrance you can ever see. The staircase to the Bacchus garden, you know, fountains flowing here and there, greenery. I mean, it was a beautiful scene. And the boys were there and they were charging. And the songs they were singing, I was a little shy to sing with them, you know. But, you know, they took me to J38, room number J38. That was my room. I did my registration, met my friends. And then we started, you know, because I was a Jama boy already, just that this is not the kind of songs I sing in SHS.
Back in SHS.
But I gradually warmed up and I found that these were very powerful, inspirational songs. And you sing them, you get first class. You know, that was my journey to Commonwealth for, you know. And then I think so I was in the Commonwealth fold. I met a lot of great men, great boys in Commonwealth fold. We all grew up to be men together in Commonwealth fold. We studied together. Giovanni was part of my cohort in Commonwealth. Yes,
he doesn't look like a Jama boy.
He wasn't. Giovanni was not the type of Jama, you know, that hardcore Jama guy, but he was a guy. He was a fun guy. He wasn't cool like that. You know, I hope he watches this. He wasn't your normal cool, you know,
he was like always active.
He was a fun guy, you know. So we were in Commonwealth together. And
this is new to me, though.
Yes. So, my Richard Issa, you know, horror, all the boys were there. You know, even the current CEO for DVLE. Lucas.
Yeah.
He was in Commonwealth. He was part of my Jama group.
Yeah, I know he was in Commonwealth.
He was part of my Jama group. You know, by the time I got to level 300, we have formed VANSA, Vandals for Stars Association.
Vandals for
Stars. Association. At that time, Black Star was playing the African Cup in Angola 2010. Yes, we formed Vandals for Stars Association. Horror was the lead singer. I was the drummer in the group. We did our own T-shirts. Roma Lopia was there. Lugas was part of us. You know, and we did. It was fun in Commonwealth, but you see, the fun did not also overtake our studies. These were sharp boys. You know, these were sharp boys that I'm talking about. You know, so eventually in level 300, the name Vandal Ernesto came because everybody was calling me Ernesto. But when we got to level 300, an incident happened on this campus. I think there was an incident of sexual harassment or sexual assault in one of the halls. And we heard that the person that committed that offense was called Ernesto. So when I was walking on campus and people say Ernesto, like it felt some way, because the name, when people would think. So my roommate Richard Issa, was close to the chiefs, and one of the chiefs told him, no, we cannot have a vandal who associated with that kind of thing. So let us differentiate between him and the other people. So this is our Vandal Ernesto. That's where the name Vandal Ernesto came.
So I think they did well, because right now when you mention Vandal Ernesto, I was really interested in finding out how the name came about.
That's how the name came about.
Now I understand it.
Then I became and level 300, I became the editor of the Echo, which was a very vibrant student magazine at the time. I became the editor, and when I got to level 400, I became the editor-in-chief. I still got a copy here if you want. So we wrote a very interesting magazine. We did very interesting stuff on campus, but we also learned, and then here we are.
But from the time you were in Commonwealth as a Vandal, and then currently, you would realize that a lot of things has changed.
Yes.
How when you look back, how do you feel about whatever is happening in Commonwealth at the moment? Because I think right now there are just freshers in Commonwealth, no continuing students, and they're unable to do possessions and those things that used to be fun those days. Because myself, I have joined Commonwealth possession for some time. It used to relieve a lot of pressure of students. It was really fun. So when you look back right now, how do you feel about what is happening in Commonwealth?
All I can say is that I miss Commonwealth. I miss the real Vandal city, right? Because you see, contrary to the perceptions that were out there that Commonwealth boys are aggressive, we are violent, we're this, we're that, I would say that the Ashantis will say that if you're men's in every student group that you pick, you find some recalcitrant kind of behaviors around, but it doesn't define the general behavior of the group, because frankly there were times in Commonwealth that I felt some of the students crossed the line. To be frank, some of them crossed the line, but there were so many great moments that to let those those kind of incidents overshadow the good things that were happening is, I think, is a little
unfair. Too extreme.
You understand? So these days, I am a fellow of Commonwealth right now, as I sit here, and when you go to Commonwealth, it does not have the same feeling it had when we were students. Commonwealth made us, right? People learned to debate from Commonwealth.
People learned to be bold,
to speak up. People learned to write. People actually, during examinations, we had boys that would move from the other halls to just find some perching space in Commonwealth just to study for the period of the exam. Because if you came to Commonwealth during my time, during examination time, it was the place to be. If you needed motivation to study for your exams, you come to Commonwealth, right? That is where boys sit down, put their books in front of them and mow. We discuss, we mow, we teach. Those that are good enough to explain things would actually mount boards and teach their fellow Vandals. Because the way we were proud of ourselves, it would be an embarrassment if many people from Commonwealth failed, or during graduation we got third class and those kind of things. And so the chief Vandals at the time would not allow boys to be lazy around and sleep during exam time. So you will find them walking on the floors, waking people to go and learn. You don't get those kinds of things anymore. I'm sure the university has its own reasons for doing what they've done, because they've got a university to run. And so if they feel that there's something that's not going right, it takes their responsibility to make sure they address it. So I don't fault them for that. But I feel like Commonwealth is not the same.
That's very true. Okay, Doc, so you are a psychologist and a lecturer at the Department of Psychology. I know definitely you face issues, or students report issues about their mental health to you, and also campus relationships. I think it also affects the stress levels and then leads some students into depression. on campus. Also, sports betting, masturbation, some addictions that are all they all contribute in the stress levels that students face on campus. I don't know if you have been facing issues like that, and then what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, thank you. The thing about student mental health is that it's a complex situation that we face, not only on university campuses in Ghana, but also in the general population in Ghana. But since I am on a university campus, probably we should limit the conversation to this place. The whole idea is that the university experience can be quite stressful for students, especially when students come fresh. You know, from day one, from the very beginning, on many of the university campuses, they are met with extremely distressing circumstances. You know, in cases where you have, hundreds, if not thousands, of students that cannot find accommodation, a place to stay to start their studies, and so that's where the university stress begins. So right from day one, the university experience can be a distressing situation, especially for students that come from outside the Greater Accra region, like people that come from the north, region, and then they come and then some people do not have any family, any relations or relatives in Accra, and then we do random allocation, and they don't get a place to stay. Right? Some families have struggled, to raise the fees, the academic fee to pay, and now they have to pay exorbitant fees to
residential
hostels that are around, in Accra. And Accra accommodation is
very expensive.
It's expensive. You've seen what's going on with the rent control, and hostels around Ghana. Some of the hostels are the fees are so high that people get scared to actually go there. And in Ghana, when you receive admission from the University of Ghana, for many people, it's a dream come true. So they come, they have dreams, they have hopes, they have aspirations, and they come to school and there's no place to stay. Right? The university is doing its best to find accommodation for students as much as they can. I know the university has some kind of understanding with all the hostels.
Recently, they have built some new hostels, and they are also starting
up, and they try to negotiate with some of the hostels around, to make it easier for students to go there. But hey, we still have a lot of students who fall through the cracks and who actually have a big issue there. So that's where stressful experiences come from. The university environment is also a new environment for a lot of students who come. And so when they come here, they are in this big university community. Their parental or family protections they have at home are nowhere to be found, and they are left on their own, and they have to begin to build networks on their own. And these kind of social activities can also be stressful in themselves. Roommate problems, boyfriend, girlfriend problems. You mentioned the campus relationships. And then some students also have to deal with, criminals and unscrupulous individuals that take advantage of the stressful and difficult accommodation situations, sometimes to defraud students and do all sorts of things. So these kind of scenarios expose students to a lot of stressful situations on this campus. And then you mentioned relationships. When you come to university campus, wherever you find young people interacting with each other, definitely somebody will like somebody. So the university or the country, the society cannot ban students from liking each other, right? Because university is, for most people, the beginning of adulthood. So this is actually the space that affords them the opportunity to find partners anyways. And some campus relationships actually blossom to become marriages, and successful people living out there. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Ghana who met their wives or their husbands
on the university
campuses. But also, some people also have problems, in developing or informing student romantic relationships on campus. And so we have a counseling center. We have amazing counselors around the university campus at the University of Ghana that can help students, navigate some of these social relationships and difficulties on campus. But the advice we give is that, relationships can be demanding. They come with responsibilities, emotional, mental, physical, financial, responsibilities. Then the academic work you came here to do is also tasking on you. It's mentally tasking, emotionally, physically. It can really overwhelm you. So you really need to assess yourself if you can take on the two at the same time. And if you do self-assessment, if you introspect and you feel you can, then of course do it with caution. But if you can't, then the advice is wait until such a point where you feel you can before you do. Because at one point in your life, if you're somebody who is interested in relationships, there comes a time where you will have to find a partner, right? And so I don't think the position on the university campus or any lecturer or university authority would forbid or ban students from forming relationships. We only advise caution, and also to make sure that the romantic relationships do not overshadow the academic reasons for which you were here. Do you understand? So we do get broken heart situations on campus. Some students will come to your office crying, my boyfriend has done this, my girlfriend has done this. And some people,
it must be interesting being a lecturer.
Yeah, things happen, things happen on the university campus, but that's why some of us are here. We do our best to try to support students and to provide them with direction on how not to let those kinds of things, and then if they have any consequences, we have the University Counseling Center that is there that very readily provides support for students. But student mental health is a big deal, not only on the University of Ghana campus, but on the campuses of other universities around the country.
Okay, so campus relationships do not necessarily work for everyone, but I mean it works for some people. It didn't work for my friend Clarkson, but it could work for you. So you have to know yourself to know that maybe I can, just as Doc said, I can do the two at the same time, and then you go ahead. But if you can't do the two, then focus on the main reason why you are here, which is your studies. Okay, Doc, for my experience in the University of Ghana, I realized that in exams, those people who are able to remember very well what the lecturer has taught are those that excel. Once you are able to remember and then write, you get your A. So I want to find out, in your own perspective, do you think grades truly measure intelligence?
Not necessarily. Grades are course grades are a measure of course performance, not necessarily holistic or overall intelligence. No, right? So you see, grades, depending on the course and the institution, different courses grade students. They have different ways of grading students. If, for example, a course is graded based on a student's performance in examination, the grade is only a representation of the student's performance in the examination, not necessarily even their performance in the course.
In the course itself.
You understand? Because the examination situation presents an environment, an atmosphere, that is tense, anxious, and that is charged. So you can find people that are brilliant, people that in class, are very active. They give brilliant answers. You can find people that you the lecturer, they come across you as very brilliant people, and when you put them in the examination room, in the examination atmosphere,
they don't perform.
They become disoriented, and so they are not able to perform. It does not mean that that person is dumb, excuse me to use the word, or that person, doesn't know or is not intelligent. It only means they did not perform well in that examination. There are some people that get to examination hall and forget to spell their name, or forget how to spell their names, right? When you move them out of the examination environment, they effortlessly write their own names. It tells you that it is the atmosphere of the environment that actually affected that can affect their ability to perform in examination. So I think that, and I also, it's not like those that remember and reproduce what the lecturer taught who get good grades. Again, it depends on the kind of examination that you write. In some examinations, you are required to be creative and not just reproduce, for example, in a project work, right? You may not have to reproduce the lecture that was given to you in class, but you may have to design or create something that reflects or that shows that you have actually acquired the skill that the lecturer taught you. So it's not a matter of remembering and reproducing what was taught in class. It's some examinations require you to actually apply,
Understand.
and the extent of application is what is graded. It's a snippet of the amount of knowledge the student has accumulated by participating in the course, right? And so grades are a measure of examination performance, right? They are not necessarily a comprehensive indicator of intelligence. No, they're not.
Oh, that's an interesting answer.
Yeah.
Okay, Doc, so recently the former Minister for Education, Dr. Aduchum, has made a comment that some courses that universities teach have become obsolete. And he made an example about development studies from UDS and also Bachelor of Arts in Education, non-teaching from University of Ghana. What is your take on this particular issue?
Well, I have not listened to the interview or watched it in full. What I've picked up are snippets of discussions that people have had, on social media and in traditional media. I think that when things happen in Ghana, people are more likely to respond emotionally than with nuance. I think that we all need to take a step back and engage, probably if we are interested, engage or think about what the man was trying to say, and and ask ourselves if we truly want to be angry with him for saying that, or if we want to really digest it and find out if there's a point in there that he was trying to make and which we can respond to. I don't know. I haven't watched, and so I can't tell whether he actually used the word useless for any of the causes, but I wouldn't use that word. What I agree with him on is that, and what we all need to understand is that social change is occurring, and in our world, it's occurring at a rapid pace. Right? The world is changing, society is changing. The needs of yesteryears may not necessarily be the
same
needs
as
of
the current
today.
year.
And so, yes, there are university programs that may need adjustments or modifications in order to make them better serve the needs of today. Nobody develops a university program just to teach for teaching's sake. The university programs are supposed to teach students or give students a skill set that makes them able to respond to the needs of their society, right? And so, if there's a need for us to take a look or review some of the courses in order to redesign them to better fit the needs of today, I think in that sense, I agree with him, right? You mentioned, or I heard he mentioned development studies and bachelor's in education on teaching, those kinds of things. I think that those that develop those programs had their own reasons for developing those programs. He's been a minister of education before. And so if he feels that, or if he says that the degree in education, that's non-teaching, is not relevant to Ghana's educational needs, probably because he has been in the driving seat before, we should listen to him, right? But a course like development studies is not a course that is only offered in Ghana or University of Ghana. Development studies is a program that is offered in many international universities around the world. And I would not say programs in development studies are irrelevant in our world. They are, because there's still a part of the world that is still chasing development. And so to that extent, development studies programs may be of use to such societies and such environments. It's not necessarily the title and the name of the course that's important. What's important in the course is the content
of the
and the skill set that it seeks to build in the learners. The outcomes are the most important thing. And so if a course in development studies is actually equipping students with skills that can help them respond to the development needs of their countries, then on that score, I wouldn't describe it as useless or irrelevant, right? So, for example, look at Ghana. Okay, from January to December, we have sunlight, and we are a country that is struggling with electricity, right? Doomsor is a perpetual destroyer of lives in Ghana. We have a lot of sun. If you go to places where they have winter and all the seasons where they have minimal sunlight compared to us, they have solar systems that back them up. Why can't we have the same? So on that note, we can say that Ghana's development needs includes probably innovations that can help us harness solar power, to back up our systems and electricity supply in Ghana. If such a content and the skill set to develop these skills are embedded in a development studies program, then that development studies program is relevant to Ghana. So it's the content, and the intended outcomes of a course that makes it relevant or irrelevant to the particular country in which it is.
I think that's an interesting one. I don't know if you know that you are a favorite to many students, but myself, I took your course when I was in level 100, UGBS 108, psychology in everyday living, and it was so much interesting. I came to love you from that time, and I'm actually honored to be here interviewing you today. And a lot of students sharing this sentiment. I want to find out from you today, what are you doing different? What are you doing differently that makes you the favorite?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know if I'm doing anything different. What I can say is that in my life as a student, whilst I was going to school, I have benefited a lot from those that have taught me. I already said that the first person to ever buy me a birthday gift was my teacher, my SHS science teacher, Mrs. Sasu. Right. And from there, in the same SHS, I won a Best Student in Science award. I think I was in SHS 2 or 3, one of them. And during the award ceremony, it was a teacher who gave me his necktie to wear on my shirt to go and receive my prize. Right? It didn't stop there. Right? In teacher training college, I got teachers that really were interested in supporting me. I came to university, and I actually I am a lecturer because of a lecturer that I met at the University of Ghana. My first class that I attended on this campus was a sociology course, SOCI 101.
Okay.
And it was taught by Dr. Albert Paul, who is still at the Department of Sociology right now. And when I entered that classroom, it was my first university class to attend. I saw this young, very nice man, has a lot of swag, and sharp, good looking.
Just as you do.
Speaking, very fluently, and clearly this man knew what he was teaching, right? And the admiration started from there. After the class, I went to his office and I told him, "Say, I want to be like you." And then he told me that I should learn, get my grades, get a master's, get a PhD before I can become a lecturer. So I should, if I want to be there, then I should start work immediately. So, and he said that the person who scores the highest marks in his class gets to go to lunch with him.
Okay.
I wasn't going to miss out on that. So I put in the effort. I scored the highest marks in the class, and he took me to lunch. There he also gave me a lot of, bits and pieces there too. Then I attended psychology lecture, and Psych 101, which is the course I'm teaching right now. Psych 101 at the time was taught by Dr. Riafia Kente, who is the recent past the Vice Dean of Students. And he made the course so fun. He made psychology so understandable, and it made so much impact on me that whilst I decided to become a lecturer because of Dr. Albert Paul, what I would teach became psychology because of Dr. Riafia.
Okay.
Right? It followed me to my scholarship, when I got a scholarship and did my PhD at the University of Bergen, the supervisor that I got was an amazing supervisor, right? She would find resources for me. She would point me in the direction of things that can help me. She was supportive. She basically was my mother, right, during my studies. So when I was leaving after my PhD to come and work in Ghana, what I told her was that I hope and I wish that my students would enjoy me the way I have enjoyed them over there. So since I have been in Ghana, what I have done is try to give to my students what I got from my lectures. And I hope that somebody.
Oh yeah, we have. I mean, we have enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it too. So I know what I am talking about.
Yeah.
And we must say that we are so much proud of you and everything that you have done. This question. Okay, let's move. I want to find out from you, Doc. What's the best book that you have read?
The best book I have read was written by Jehovah's Witnesses, and I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, but I do enjoy their literature, especially the ones that try to find a fine bridge between religion and science. And the book was titled Mankind's Search for God.
Mankind's Search for God.
Yeah, it's a brilliant book. I read it when I was in level 300. I read it again when I was doing my master's, and I read it again when I was doing my PhD. And if I get it today, I'll read it again. Right? It just presents a brilliant, systematic review of how man's craving for God has led us sometimes on paths of destruction, war and conflict, and sometimes on paths of construction. And it just gets you to understand the human psyche and what the extent that people are willing to go to satisfy things that psychologically are valuable to them. So I really enjoy the book.
Okay. I think I'll try to find a piece, read it, and then give you feedback on that.
Yeah.
Okay. I also want to find out what is your favorite place on campus?
Well, this is the question. Yeah, you won't tell anyone I won't blow. Right? There's only one place on campus. There's only one place, right, on campus. One place, and probably the rest.
Right. And the rest.
Oh well, you see the way you yourself you said it. There's no vim in what you said. You understand? So let me direct you to the best place on the University of Ghana campus. On the University of Ghana campus, there's a certain place where the gates looks like the gates to heaven. When you get to the entrance of this edifice, you are met with a flight of staircase that lead you to heaven, to the Baku statue. Right, and this place is inspiring. It's beautiful. It's peaceful, and it's a place of intellectualism. That place is called Commonwealth Hall. There is no place you can be on the University of Ghana campus than Commonwealth Hall. I'm just sending a message to all your viewers to organize trips
to come and see
Commonwealth Hall. It's a tourist attraction.
Yeah, that's true.
On its own. So if you have nowhere to go, if you are looking for an important place to be, please go to Commonwealth Hall. We are happy to have you there.
Okay.
It is the city of men. Nobody lights a candle and puts it under a pillow. The glory of Commonwealth Hall can never be hidden. Vandals for life.
We made.
Sharp.
Okay. Doc, so aside Commonwealth Hall, which hall is the best on campus?
Commonwealth Hall. There is no hall that comes close to Commonwealth Hall, but, well, right next to Commonwealth Hall is a beautiful place made up of beautiful people.
Wow.
Close to the hearts of Vandals. And that place is called Water Hall.
Water Hall.
We have the VV Alliance.
The
Right.
Alliance.
So
Water
Water Hall is the next that I would choose for Commonwealth.
Okay. What career would you have pursued if you didn't become a lecturer?
Lecturing. I told you that it was my big brother, Mr. Raymond Bediako, who started telling me
About
that I can go to
teaching.
university. What I really wanted, the career that I really want to become or to do would be to go to the military. I am a fan of Air Force infrastructure.
Okay.
In my spare time, all that I do is watch fighter jets.
Wow.
F-16, B-21 radar, those kind of things. I watch documentaries of them. I would have loved to be a soldier if I had not become a lecturer.
Okay. Look, the viewers are watching you, the students and everyone. They all love you. And I think there are some of them too that are done with school. They experienced you and then they are done with school. They are watching. There are some current students too.
Yeah.
Do you have any words for them?
Yeah, well, back to the question of what I would have done. If I wouldn't be a soldier, maybe a radio presenter.
A radio presenter?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have.
Why radio presenter?
I actually started off a little bit with some small gimmicks here and there back in Commonwealth 4.
Okay.
Back in the days when Giovanni and the other guys were going to Radio University. We were doing some 1 or 2 shenanigans back in Commonwealth 4. I kind of feel like if I had been on radio, people would have enjoyed me.
Yeah, you would have been very interesting. That's true.
Yeah, I would have done that. Well, to the students and people that are watching, it's Vandal Ernest in the house,
But I think you can still become a radio personality though.
Yeah,
because you have this one.
If I retire and I don't have anything to do, probably I would think of launching a radio program on mental health.
Yeah, that would be great
in psychology. But even now that I'm still teaching, well, if I get the opportunity to, do radio shows where I can teach mental health and youth coaching, probably yes, I can. I can do that. The people that are watching, what can I say? First, I would like to say thank you very much. I get the vibe that I'm talking to Voice of Legon today because of you guys. And I'm glad that the things that I say in class and the lessons that we take in the lecture halls obviously are making impact in your lives, and because of that you are electing me as one of your favorite lecturers. I'm grateful. I'll just say, keep your head in it. The hustle is on. If you come to school, the best thing you can do is to give yourself the education that you need, so that when you get out there into the world, you can make something of yourself. This is what we've always been about. But hey, enjoy yourselves, chill. Life is for the living. And so have fun, enjoy your youth life, because maybe this is the time to enjoy it, but also enjoy it responsibly, and, smile at somebody. A smile doesn't cost a thing. That's all.
Okay. Look, thank you so much for the opportunity to have this interview with you. I think we have taken much time from you today, but you have been very receptive. And I mean, this actually shows what students said and what I have said that I also experienced in class. We are happy that you continue to have time for your students. You continue to have time for us, especially when our parents are not here. You continue to be a father figure to most of us on campus here. And we want you to know that we love and appreciate what you continue to do for us. And we are hoping and then wishing you the best in everything that you want to do in this life. We are here to support you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much.